Well-implemented enemy AI is characterized by the believability of opposing NPC movement, how they converse, behave, and react to any given situation created by the player. It's an important ingredient in maintaining player immersion, with the success of combat-heavy experiences especially hinging on the perceived intelligence of the game's enemies and how they perform both individually and together. The Last of Us Part 2. Of the improvements Naughty Dog made to The Last of Us's gameplay for its sequel, enemy AI sits amongst the most successful. It's a game with a focus on stealth. If an enemy happens to spot their dead friend, their alertness is heightened, but your exact whereabouts remain vague to them. Contrast this to the first game, whereby enemies had only two states of awareness. Either they didn't know where you were, or they knew exactly where you were. The Last of Us 2 certainly wasn't the first to weave intelligent AI into a game, but what Naughty Dog have included is extremely well implemented. Enemies will work together, surrounding your position after just a whiff of your location. You'll hear them call out to each other, sharing orders and strategies to draw you out. Elden Ring. Smart enemy AI in Elden Ring? More like annoying Matrix-style input reading AI, right? The reality is, it's a bit of both. From Software's games have always utilized input reading. Enemies will counter a move the instant you attack. Dodge, step back, and attempt to heal, and you know you're about to get range attacked. Thing is, whatever you think about input reading, it's the closest approximation to competing against a human, and authentic, natural, tough but fair combat is what From Software games are all about. And Elden Ring is no exception. Clever input reading forces you to adapt your strategy, to die and to learn repeatedly. Halo Infinite. Halo has a long history of memorable enemies, and the Banished in Halo Infinite are up there with the best of them. They're a diverse bunch, funny, witty, and smart as hell. Each enemy type has their own characteristics and personality as well. From the charmingly overconfident grunts to super determined elites. They'll behave like a unit and react in real time to the situation on the battlefield. If you're pinned down by a sniper, the Banished will steadily advance. But if you take out the sniper, they'll stay put, take cover, and oftentimes retreat and regroup. It makes for an experience that'll have you blending FPS gung-ho instincts with strategic consideration. SIFU. An important consideration for game developers when programming enemy AI is striking the right balance. They're compelled to create enemies that often offer a suitable challenge, but not so much to be insurmountable as to be unfair. SIFU, then, absolutely nails this balance. Enemies in this kung fu romp are aggressive. They'll swarm you, throw objects while their mates dish out pummeling. But they're just predictable. You'll see their combo attacks telegraphed so you can learn the game's defensive maneuvers. But they are programmed with subtle attack variation, so as to unsettle you just as you're hitting your stride. SIFU is a game that needs to be learned, and Slowclap's masterfully implemented enemy AI is the vehicle with which to do that. Horizon Forbidden West. Bigger and deadlier were clearly the design principles Guerrilla took when creating the mechanoid creatures for Horizon Forbidden West. More extreme in appearance, sure, but they're smarter too. For starters, many of the new mechanics and enemy NPCs are much freer to traverse the environment, finding ways to jump, climb, or find a path through and over obstacles. Several machines can chase Aloy through the water now too. For gameplay, this means much more consideration in how you'll surpass encounters, with easy stealth not much of an option now. Different machines exhibit unique characteristics as well. The new Sunwing is a solar-powered avian machine which periodically needs to bask in sunlight to recharge its batteries. When it's having a minute though, its awareness is heightened, making it less prone to ambush. Returnal. Returnal is relentlessly unforgiving, which is just as well, as with any good roguelike, death is part of the learning process. Sure, there are artifacts, resources, ether, lore to discover, but really we're here for the combat, and that means a whole lot of hostile, otherworldly monsters. They're fast and deadly, sending wave after wave of bioluminescent bullet hell. Each biome has its own monster archetypes, and they're programmed to work together as well as individually. In tandem, they test your spatial awareness, seamlessly combining ranged attacks with close-quarter melee. When isolated, most monsters you encounter prefer hurling projectiles from a range. They'll oftentimes teleport to the most advantageous spot with which to inflict the most pain, using the surroundings to their advantage. Red Dead Redemption 2. Rockstar's attention to detail is heralded, their world building and atmosphere second to none. What doesn't get as much of the praise though is the robustness of their enemy AI. And in Red Dead Redemption 2, Rockstar knocked the enemy AI out of the park. Adversaries will encircle you if you opt to hold up a saloon. They'll wait outside and plan their ambush in coordinate fashion. If you make a getaway, they'll follow your tracks. There's even the humorous story of an NPC attempting to dispose of a body, botching it, then realizing they've made a mistake, trying again, cursing all along the way. The moment isn't scripted. It indicates the staggering detail Rockstar places in its enemy NPC character design. Half-Life ALYX. Still arguably the most immersive VR FPS game, Valve's 2020 Half-Life offshoot Half-Life ALYX features a wide range of enemies, and some of them are downright devious. The worst of the lot will chase you down, regroup and flank you, and chuck grenades to flush you out of cover. Hide-and-seek battles with the iconic Zomboid Jeff are extremely memorable as well. The only group is the combined enemies, who are so dastardly clever, with serious aim and shooting skills that they're able to repeatedly pin you down and pop you from a distance, transforming Half-Life ALYX into a cover shooter which, as a VR title, is far from ideal. Resident Evil Village. The breadth of many characters in Capcom's marquee horror franchise is phenomenal, but prior to the 8th mainline entry in the series, industry insiders were touting Village's Lycan enemies as the smartest and most devious opponents in Resident Evil history. Indeed, the Lycans are sly old critters. They're adept at hiding in bushes, skulking on rooftops, and generally waiting to pounce when you least suspect. When they're hanging out in packs, they're prone to ambush you as well, tracking and flanking like a real wolf pack. Tom Clancy's The Division 2. Each faction in The Division 2 brings their own characteristics and behavior, but the clincher for this game is their natural ability to react to the happenings on the battleground. Enemy medics, for instance, will abandon all duty in healing their allies should they judge the situation too dangerous. Distant snipers are more than happy to reposition should they struggle for a clear line of sight. As an opposing unit, they'll advance and retreat together, meaning this cover-based shooting demands immense tactical nuance from its players. Did you know that we at GamingBolt upload new videos every day? Stick around, drop a like, subscribe, and let us know what kind of content you'd like to see in the future with a comment below.